We now have a moment for all ages. So those young and young at heart, you're welcome to move forward if you want to get a better look at things. My eyesight isn't particularly good, so I would be a person that needed to move. This is a book that certainly in these times in Florida would not be allowed on the classroom shelves. It's titled Kind Like Marcia, Learning from LGBTQ+ Leaders, written by Sarah Prager, illustrated by Cheryl Roz Tuesday. Some of these folks you might be familiar with, others you might not. So you might want to take note of that. First, we have Marcia P. Johnson. You can be kind like Marcia. Marcia P. Johnson was an activist who took care of everyone in her community in New York City. Her quote attributed to her is, "Pay it no mind." Harvey Milk. You can be inclusive like Harvey. Harvey Milk brought people together for the cause of equality by talking about respecting everyone, even if they were different. He says, hope will never be silent. You can be expressive like Sappho. Sappho was a woman who wrote love poems about other women more than 2,000 years ago. She writes, "One day they'll remember us." You can be outspoken like X. X Gonzalez is an activist who organizes millions of people and speaks out about making schools safer for everyone. They write, "It's time to start doing something." Leonardo da Vinci. You can be creative like Leonardo. He invented so many cool creations. He made a robot, a scuba suit, even a helicopter. Learning never exhausts the mind. Sylvia Rivera. You can be determined like Sylvia. She was an activist who defended her community even when people told her to stop. We have to be visible, she says. You can be brave like Frank. Frank Mugisha fights for equal rights for the LGBTQ+ people in Uganda, where it is illegal presently to be LGBTQ+. He says, "We will not give up until we have the future we all deserve." Audre Lorde. You can be thoughtful like Audre. She wrote about equal rights for women, Black people, and gay people. She turned her thoughts about justice into writing that made others change their minds. We are powerful because we have survived. Ai of Han. You can be loving like Ai. Emperor Ai of Han ruled all of China, but he always made time for the man he loved most, Dong Xian. "I know your faithfulness," he says. Frida Kahlo. You can be artistic like Frida. Frida created beautiful paintings that often showed herself, sometimes with cute animals. She was proud of who she was. She writes, "I am happy to be alive as long as I can paint." Lynn Conway. You can be smart like Lynn. She helped make little computers that are used inside all electronic devices, like the tablets and phones we're glued to today. "It's the learning that's fun," she says. Alberto Santos Dumont. You can be daring like Alberto. He created some of the first ever airplanes and other flying machines, even when the airships would crash with him inside. He'd keep trying again and again. Still, he persevered. Alan Hart. You can be inventive like Alan. He helped save thousands of lives as a doctor who pioneered the use of X-ray technology to detect illness in patients earlier than ever before. He writes, "I have been happier since I made this change than I ever have in my life." Josephine Baker. You can be resilient like Josephine. She created a successful life for herself, even though no one helped her. She became a world-famous and beloved star who was also a spy, an activist, and a mom. The things we truly love stay with us always, locked in our hearts, as long as life remains. All of these people are LGBTQ+, which means they have identities diverse as the rainbow. You can be like them by being you.
There's always a point in our services here at UU Miami where we take time for a deepening, meditation, reflection, whatever word resonates with you. So I invite you to find a comfortable place in your seat, in your body, in your mind, in your heart, as we listen to this poetic reflection this morning. We commemorate the story of the 1969 Stonewall riots with the words of Reverend Otto O'Connor, a trans pastor at the First Parish in Malden, Massachusetts. On a Holy Night in 1969, by Otto O'Connor. On a holy night in 1969, in an inn, also known as a bar, called the Stonewall Inn, a basement which had no running water nor safe fire exits, queer people of many colors and kinds danced together, for it was the only place where they were allowed to dance. At least permitted to by the mafia who ran the inn. In those days, it was common for the police to frequent this inn, not to join in the dance, the underground celebration, but to send the dancers home and make arrests. When they would arrive, the lights would go on, the people would be lined up, and then all those in drag, all those who were trans, all those without proper identification, they were arrested and taken into custody. But on this holy night, that early morning of June 28th, the people said, "Not tonight." As they called them to line up, the trans women refused to go. And as the police began to beat and arrest them, and as the people spilled out from the bar onto the street, Christopher Street, a crowd grew to watch. And then, as trans women, lesbians, and gay men were getting arrested, a yell came from the crowd, "Gay power." And as a trans woman was shoved, she shoved back, and the crowd began throwing bottles at the wagon, and suddenly it erupted. For once, the people didn't line up. For once, the people said, "No more, we've had enough." It was almost as if that night, being pulled out of the darkness of the underground at Stonewall Inn one too many times, they said, "I'm ready to be seen." On this holy night, when the power of the oppressed rippled through the streets of New York, when queer people said no more, our world would never be the same. 50 years ago, it was illegal to be gay, to be trans, to dance, and to love, and to celebrate. And now, only 50 years later, here we are, celebrating at a church. Gay and straight together, queer and straight together, trans and cis together, all in this together. And so, as we hear these stories of life and love and defiance and celebration, let us also remember and pay tribute to our movement ancestors, many of them trans women of color who led the first rebellion that night. You see, Pride is a celebration of that anniversary, the anniversary of that riot at the Stonewall Inn in New York City, a holy night. So, happy Pride. Welcome to this joyful celebration. Bring your whole selves, your gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, queer selves, your drag queen, butch and femme, cross-dressing, nail-painting, tutu-wearing selves. your genderqueer, gender fluid, agender, pansexual, quilt bag selves, and all the other identities that there are and will be. And let's have a celebration, because joy is a rebellion too. And this church is queer, queer and fabulous. Amen.
In lieu of our traditional sermon, Alex and I have a few things, a collection of things to share with you this morning. And it'll be all right if we wanted to allow for some time at the end for you to come explore this display we've prepared for you. Collection of writings, many of which are banned books or signage regarding some of our LGBTQ leaders. The first offering we have for you is a human rights campaign, a wonderful organization if you're not already familiar, a video that they put out a couple of weeks ago that's galvanizing for that protest element of today as we explore that duality of protest and party. This video is titled "Pride is More Than a Parade." Oh gosh. The next thing we'd like to share with you, because as much as today we want to celebrate with music and words, we also want to give you an opportunity to engage in small acts of change. Celebrating in and of itself, as we've said, is resistance, but another actionable way that is very easy in today's technological age is this application called ResistBot, which Alex will show you.
Have any of you ever heard of ResistBot before? The people that I thought would raise their hands rose their hands, which is unsurprising to me. ResistBot is what it sounds like. It's a bot. It's not a real person that you're talking to. That's a QR code to bring you to the website if any of you are curious. It's AI, in a sense, and if that scares you, just give me a second. It's been around longer than things like ChatGPT and all of those new things that have come about in the last couple of months. ResistBot is a system where you can put in your information, meaning your address, your name, et cetera, et cetera. It will tell you who your representatives are from all scales of the government. It'll tell, because a lot of people that are, especially like people like my students at the college, a lot of them don't even know local government. Some of you might not know local government, you know what I mean? So you put in your information. You put in your address, your name, you can put in your affiliation, political affiliation, whatever information makes the most sense. It will text you, and it will say, for example, I got one a couple of days ago that said, Ron DeSantis signed something, and I can't keep up anymore. Ron DeSantis signed something, and if you're against it, text yes, and then you text yes, and then it spits another one back out at you. Okay, is your information still the same, meaning everything you put in, address, name, etc.? I say yes. It says, okay, here's a letter we drafted for you to send to Marco Rubio, to tell him to vote against this thing. And then you read the letter, and if you like it, you say send, and it sends a letter to your representative with your signature, your information, your email, so if they reply, it goes directly to you, not through a third party. It is so easy. Carly, I don't even think you knew that I had it. Because when we were talking about this, I was like, yeah, I've used ResistBot for years. And I tell my students about it too, because it's like the form of activism you can do from your couch. You know what I mean? And that's what a lot of people like these days. So if it's something you're interested in, maybe something you can pass along to someone younger than you, if you have people in your family that maybe don't know about politics, don't want to vote, don't know how to vote, don't know how to write a letter to a representative, etc. It's a really great tool, and I have lovingly coined it couch activism, which I hope is okay. Is the video the next thing? The last thing that we want to share with you before we have more music from Joseph and a couple more words is this video that they showed yesterday at Ruth's service. Ruth Trencher, if you didn't know her, was actively involved in this congregation for how many years? Forever. Okay, great. I love it. Forever. And more than 50. And she was also a member of the choir, so music was very important to her. This video was shown by her sister-in-law, and they had found it. It's a song called This Joy by the Resistance Revival Chorus, and they'll tell you a little bit about themselves. But this is a time in the service where you are allowed to dance. You are allowed to sit and sing. It's like a 3.5-minute video. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you find some joy in it. And again, this is This Joy by the Resistance Revival Chorus.